Welcome to this episode of Profile Editions with Katy Toms, talking about her role as a civil engineer. Hi Katy, and welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Hi, great to have you. Can we start right at the beginning? Why did you choose a career in engineering?
Ultimately, I think my dad wanted to be a civil engineer, and he encouraged me that way. When I was really young, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and he found me some work experience with a structural engineer, and I spent the week with him learning about his role, which was really interesting. And then towards the end of the week, I thought he was sort of running out of things to show me and
Right.
share.
Yeah.
And he actually got me to sit down and watch this documentary about the Falkirk wheel.
Right.
And that was really sort of the click for me. Whilst it was really impressive structure and innovative, it was the story that captured my imagination. So how structures affect the communities that you're working in and how they just have this butterfly effect. It spreads so far, and that's civil engineering that captured me completely.
Right. So what was your route into the engineering industry?
I have probably like a little bit of a rocky start into the industry, which I don't normally talk about. So
Good, talk about it, yeah.
Yeah, so I went to do a master's degree at Plymouth University,
Right.
but before that I did A-levels in maths, history and English, and it turns out I didn't really enjoy A-levels very much,
Right, okay.
and I really sort of scraped through, almost failed my maths A-level, which I needed for my courses. And I ended up getting a place at Plymouth through clearing on the bachelor's degree.
Right.
But once I got to university, I pulled my socks up and really worked hard, and I moved, fortunately, through from a bachelor's through to the master's degree program. So I did an extra year, and then I ended up graduating with a master's degree.
Right, okay. So what skills do you think are needed to become a civil engineer?
Being curious is definitely up there on the list. Having a good understanding of tackling problems. Some skills can be learned and developed. So
Yes, yeah.
If you're not brilliant at maths, you can get better at maths.
Yeah.
But I think having a sort of fundamental sort of excitement about how things work and how does that building stand up, and curiosity I think is the biggest one, and communication as well, because if you might have the most bestest, greatest idea ever and you think this is going to change the world, but you can't communicate it, then it's just stuck in your head and it never materializes.
Yeah. So today, what does your role entail?
So my role sort of really varies project to project. So if I could be sat in a design office, obviously not at the moment, but at my desk, doing highways design, so new carriageway construction or drainage and things like that. But the projects I've got at the moment are really exciting, and I'm actually the sort of like project manager and site supervisor. So I basically just sort of get to check what the contractor is doing, making sure they're building it right and the quality is there, and they're following the specifications of what the designers have put together. So I have a bit more of like a holistic role in the project rather than just sort of one individual aspect. So I make sure that they're running to the program, and I have quite a lot of heavy involvement with finances, and just a lot of management skills really. That means I get to do a proper mixture of home office and being on site and hard hat, muddy boots. So I get like the best of both worlds really at the moment, which is really nice.
So usually does your role allow you to go onto site? Is that normal for your role? And what's the sort of like split? Is it 50-50? Is it more site or more office based?
Again, it's just project specific, but at the moment I could spend all my time on site.
Right, okay.
But I still got to do stuff on the laptop and keep things going, officey side. So I probably get to do maybe about half a day on each. And I love being on site because it's one thing to be able to sit in your office and if you're on the design side, come up with a design in your head and you design it and make sure it works and it's safe. But then when you go on site and you see it being built, like it just sort of pops up in front of your eyes, and it's so satisfying. And whilst the project I'm on now is not necessarily my design, it's still great to see, you know, what you have on a drawing.
Yes.
Just,
Yeah.
you know, start
Yeah.
to appear before you. It's great.
Yeah. So what's the most challenging part of your job?
Keeping all the different plates spinning. I
Right.
think
Okay. Yeah.
there's so many things to always make sure are, you know, going in the right direction.
Yeah.
You know, often projects are quite multidisciplinary, so you know, I'm making sure that our traffic light design is, you know, progressing and working, and the contractor is speaking to the right people on this aspect. At the same time, we're building a retaining wall, and they've got a piling rig sat on site, making sure all that's happening. At the same time, thinking ahead and going, oh, has the surfacing being finished and agreed, or is there any changes here? And it's going, okay, well, I'm thinking about this because this is going to happen tomorrow, and then this has got to be ready for 3 days time, for 2 weeks in advance, and have I paid everyone? And it's just making sure everything it just all happens at the same time, so it's just, you know, theoretically looks seamless.
So do you deal with all the disciplines then throughout the site? Is that part of your role, dealing with and bringing it all together?
So I work on behalf of the client, basically.
Yeah.
The principal contractor, that's their main job, but it's making sure they're all doing that too. And I've got the designers giving them the information at the right time, and things like that. And I like to get involved anyway, so I probably stick my nose in a little bit too often. They get upset, but I just want to make sure everything goes on time, and we've got a really good product basically at the end.
Yeah. So what's the most rewarding part of being a civil engineer, apart from watching it all be built in front of your eyes, like you've already said?
Yeah, so I love civil engineering. It's your opportunity to really make a difference, put your mark on the world, and be a part of an exciting future.
Yeah.
I love being able to sort of drive around and go, oh, I worked on that, and I did this, and I actually used to work in power, and it's a bit sad, but going, oh, that's that kind of pylon, is it this, that, and the other, and
I know what you
just
mean.
have that really appreciation of what's going on around you. And I mean, and like I said at the beginning with the Falkirk wheel, it's seeing how your projects make a difference, and how it changes the community. So my favourite project, and I do tout this a lot, but I just love it, is the helipad that I designed back when I was a graduate at a hospital. And before, they just had like a patch of grass that they'd landed in. And they couldn't, they didn't have nighttime landings, so they didn't have the right lights and all that stuff. And we put together this new facility, and it's my local hospital, and it could be me one day. And you now have this thing, this facility now that it's 24-hour flights. We get so many visitors down from the southwest. It's it's basically a facility that supports millions of people, possibly. And if they can get to the hospital 10 minutes quicker because of this, it's just nice to be able to be that involved in something that supports your community.
It's a great feeling to have.
Yeah.
So obviously, we couldn't do this interview without asking you about the STEM Build Malawi project. We'll put the link in the comments as well. You were a team leader on that project.
Yes.
How has this actually impacted you and your career?
So the STEM Build Malawi project was completely voluntary. I ran it at the same time as doing a full-time job, so that was a big time management challenge. It also gave me an opportunity to develop skills I didn't really have at the beginning of the project. So leading quite a large team. I've led smaller teams. Having 25 people is quite a lot. Running all the budgets and the program, and pulling together the whole thing, and looking at the design, but actually getting involved with the construction and doing all the risk assessments and that stuff. Whilst I did bits and pieces at work, it sort of consolidated into one there. But actually, when I got back, it sort of gave me quite a lot of validation and confidence that I kind of knew what I was doing.
Yeah,
And it really sort of helped my confidence just grow, really, to the point when, you know, I go, can I really do this? Or like, I'm not ready for this. It's sort of, you know, dived into the deep end, and I've come out the other side going, do you know what? Yeah, I can do this. I can do it well. And that's really nice. So personal development wise, it's been brilliant. So God knows what I'm going to come like when I get back next time. Start taking over the world.
Do you think it helped you having an engineering brain? Do you know what I mean?
I think so. And I think it's knowing the right level of detail that you need to do for some things, and I'm prioritizing different aspects. I think going, okay, well, back to that problem solving, this is what I want, and how do I get there? And you know, picking up the right skills, the right people at the right time. Again, communication was so key to the success, and being able to sort of prioritize what I need to focus on and when. So having that sort of logical side of my brain, I think, was good. And at points where we could, like, you know, put the accelerator down and make it something more and more exciting. And the idea, it just grew and grew and grew, but in the right way. And by just being logical and taking those steps. So definitely helped.
Yeah. So what advice would you give a future civil engineer?
Just go for it. It's such a, like, I know, so, you know, so some young people now, they you know, you have so many different jobs potentially. That's what they say, isn't it? But if you have a career in engineering, you could stay in engineering forever and it would still be different all the time. It's, you know, you could be working, I mean, I've worked on wind farms, airports, did my helipad, I've built houses, and I've worked on schools, and now I'm building roads, but my job hasn't changed. And so it's really lovely, and it has that opportunity, like I said before. You can be so intrinsically involved in creating the world that we want in the future. And that's so powerful. And you don't get that with a lot of other jobs. You know, it could be very monotonous, or and you know, and in engineering there's so many different things you can be doing. It's not just like me building a road. You know, you could be looking at the geology in the ground, or you could be looking at the buildings themselves. You could design bridges, and you work with so many different really exciting people. You just learn stuff all the time. So I, you know, sort of working on highways, I've learned so much about badgers and bats and all that stuff from the ecologists I've been working with, and I just, otherwise I have no idea. That's so fascinating. It's just really rewarding, and like I said, it is your opportunity to really be part of the future, and I just couldn't think of any better industry to be in.
So we know it's important to attract people to want to be part of engineering. What would your message be to people that don't know much about engineering?
It's a really good question. I think it's really easy to learn a lot about engineering very quickly, because when you start looking at things differently, so just walking down a road, for example, and a lot of time you take that for granted, or getting to school or going to work, engineering is everywhere. And you know, as soon as you start thinking about, well, what's underneath the pavement, and where does the water go, or brushing your teeth, and where does that go, or, you know, flushing the toilet, or turning on a light, and then as soon as you sort of that clicks, I think it just sets off a big chain reaction, I think, and you just don't look at the world differently again. So once you start looking for those little things, then I think it just changes your perspective. And there's so much information out there. Like, we want to tell everyone about engineering, and we don't always get to the right people. But once you sort of, you know, have like a little in somewhere, even on Twitter, something like that, searching engineering or women in engineering or civil engineering, it's just like a whole world, and we want those people, and we just need to get into them a little bit more. Bring them over to our side.
Inspire them to change our world.
Yes, exactly.
So more generally now, just for obviously the students that watch these videos, obviously interviewing is very nerve-wracking when you get interviewed for a position. Have you got any tips that you could share that you've used that have helped you in the past?
Oh yeah, a few, and I'd like to think that they work. It's you know, put your best foot forward always, and smile. It just makes conversations with people that you don't know so much easier to have,
Yeah, yeah,
because you are a normal person at the end of the day. Do your research. So the company that you're going for, even if you find out who might be interviewing you,
yeah,
being as well prepared as possible is so important. And then questions that might seem really intimidating if you're unprepared are easy.
yeah,
And there's so much stuff out there that can help you with that.
yeah,
But also be yourself. At the end of the day, the people who are hiring you want the person that you are. If you
yeah,
pretend to be someone that you're not, you're both going to be disappointed when
yeah,
you're sort of 6 months down the line. And part of an interview process is not just being the right person with the right skills, it's your personality and how you
yeah,
would fit in with your future team.
yeah,
If you pretend, as I said, if you pretend to be someone different, and actually, you're actually really wacky and you make jokes all the time, and they think that you're someone very different, then that's just going to, you want to be yourself at work. And
yes,
that's important to lay that out,
yeah,
the right way, right
yeah,
from sort of day dot in your interview process.
yeah. Katy, that's it. Thank you so much for your time today.
No, thank you for having me. It's been great. Loved it.
Thank you.